What if your 2 a.m. thoughts aren't a failure but data? The Buddha's first discovery wasn't mystical. It was observational. 3 flavors of dukkha, obvious pain, the fade of good things, and the restless hum of becoming. You already know them. Hunger, the snack, the boredom after, that itch to fix the next thing. Tonight we map your restlessness onto that model. Then we use it to pry open space. You'll learn where craving sneaks in and how to watch it without obeying it. A prince walks out at night, no thunderbolt, no prophecy, just a clean question. What causes suffering, and can it stop? He does not smash the old life. He sets it down like a loud radio and reaches for the dial. Lower, lower, quiet enough to hear the mind make its case. So, forget the romance of destiny. Welcome to an experiment. Take a life packed with gold, power, and noise. Strip inputs. He removes status. He steps away from routine pleasures. He drops the constant feed of praise and plans. He wants the raw readout, not the glossed report. Like turning off every app to see which one drains the battery, he isolates the mind as the variable that keeps pinging. Comfort should fix worry. That's the promise. Warm bed, soft food, friendly faces. But the worry hum stays. Wealth doesn't cancel the hum. Pleasure gives a sugar high that fades. Avoidance just delays the spike. The controls fail. The curve remains. He notices the pattern, not the excuse. Now, think lab. Change one condition. Observe. Record. Hunger rises. He notes the pull, not the story about it. He eats. Satiation softens the pull, then slips into dullness. Boredom follows like a shadow that hates sunlight. Same when he tries extremes. Deprivation stings, then numbs, then stings again. Overindulgence soothes, then clogs, then irritates. Repeatable results, test after test. The data is boring in the way good data is boring, steady, plain, consistent. Early sources describe suffering as a pattern to be known, not a dogma to be swallowed. The line is clear. Verify by looking. The method invites your own trial, not your loyalty badge. This isn't a priest's secret. It's a recipe you can cook at home. Put it on low heat. Wait. Taste. Adjust. Your 2 a.m. has the same lab flavor. You scroll. You soothe with a clip, a snack, a plan. Numb for a stretch. The restlessness threads itself back in. Same curve, new data point. The graph doesn't care whether it's silk sheets or a lumpy mattress the size of a small cow. The process behaves like a process. Here's the nuance people miss when they hear renunciation. It isn't self-harm, it's debugging. You remove noisy tracks so you can hear the bass line. Less stimulation means cleaner signal to noise. Then feedback stands out. The mind's habits stop hiding behind a crowd. When you treat suffering as a process, you stop giving it personality. It's not your flaw. It's a chain of conditions. Inputs change, outputs change. A breath lengthens, the heart drops a gear. A thought softens, the jaw stops bracing. A light dims, the eyes send a different signal. The loop loosens by degrees. This is practical. It works on any Tuesday. He tests comfort. He tests austerity. He tests avoidance. None are final answers. Each is a dial you can move. This is slow science, not a stunt. The payoffs are not fireworks. They're quieter than that. Fewer spikes, longer plateaus, faster recovery. You get stretches where wanting isn't barking orders. And when it barks, you hear the bark as sound, not law. We call this calm stance patience, but it's more like clean attention. He holds a state long enough to see it end. He doesn't rush the end. He doesn't sell the end as a brand. He lets the end be part of the proof. Pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, rise and fade. That's the readout. That's the ground. So what do you do in your room? Not much, and that's the point. Turn this into a low-stakes lab. Change one variable. Raise the head of the bed 2 inches. Or don't. Lengthen the exhale by a count. Or don't. Keep a relaxed jaw. Or don't. But watch. Watch the order events take when you do or do not add fuel. Keep it simple. No courtroom, no verdict, just a record. Think of reactivity like a fan that stays on after the room has cooled. You can keep tolerating the hum, or you can reach over and click it down a notch. Not off, not yet, just down. The room gets quieter by subtraction. This experiment invites honesty without drama. You will notice that pleasure often leads to a thin aftertaste. You will notice that numbness hides a restless current. You will notice that harsh self-talk spikes arousal more than it solves anything. Mark the links. Do it with the same tone you'd read train times with. Calm, direct, next. If suffering behaves like a process, you can map it in real time tonight. You don't need special gear. You don't need a robe. You need a little light attention and about 5 inches between you and the next impulse. Enough room to see it come, see it pitch, and see it pass. Here's the mini payoff. You reframe insomnia as a lab, not a fight. The bed becomes a place to get honest readings on the mind. No grade, no penalty, just better data. And better data means less panic, because the unknown gets smaller. You still prefer sleep, but you're not at war with wakefulness. That alone takes the edge off. Now, the trait that holds this together is clarity. Clear seeing cuts through the old loop of fix, fail, judge. It swaps it for look, learn, adjust. Sounds plain. It is. That's why it works at 2 a.m., when grand plans collapse and only simple moves land. A final note on the exit itself. He didn't run from life. He ran tests on it. He kept the human parts. Breath, ache, care, doubt. He dropped the clutter that made clean measurement hard. That's not a monk's trick. That's good method. You can apply it with a blanket over your shoulder and a phone face down on the shelf. And now you've got the frame. Less myth, more method. Suffering as repeatable behavior, not a cursed badge. Tonight, you'll tag what shows up, watch the curve, and stop helping it grow. The next step is to label the pieces with his simplest taxonomy, so the mind has names for what it already knows by feel. 3 flavors of dukkha. What if your night is 3 loops wearing different masks? Same hallway, different doors. You turn one knob, it's ache. You turn the next, it's the fade. The last one hums, even when nothing is wrong. Welcome to the basic map that keeps you from chasing shadows at 2 a.m. So, 3 types. Clean labels. First, dukkha dukkha, plain pain. It hurts and tells you so. Second, viparinama dukkha, the fade, where good thins out and leaves a small draft. Third, sankhara dukkha, the churn of becoming, the mind leaning forward, building a self out of wet clay over and over. That's the set. You don't have to like the words. You will learn the feel. Now, the rub. Pleasure should relax you. It does for about a minute, then slides into a thin buzz that won't shut up. Neutral spots should be fine. Instead, they feel hollow, and your hand reaches for a knob, any knob. The system leans toward doing. The doing keeps the loop going. You pay in sleep and wake with a hangover made of thoughts. Quick passes through the room. Dukkha dukkha, a dull ache in your neck that won't bargain. You shift the pillow. It moves, then returns. It says, I'm here. No subtext, no clever line. Just pressure and a small flinch. It's basic, blunt, and honest. Next door, viparinama dukkha. You start a show. First 5 minutes are a balm, like cold water on a warm day. Then the relief thins. You feel the slide from sweet to stale. The same jokes land softer. The eyes want more light. The thumb wants another episode. You add more and get less. That is the fade at work. Third door, sankhara dukkha, the itch to tweak. You adjust the blanket, then the tabs in your head, then tomorrow's plan. A line rewrites itself. A new rule forms. If I do X, then Y will be better. Then another rule shows up to fix the first rule. You are not in danger. You are in process. But the process takes energy, and the body yells with small alarms. Here's the research-backed note, simple, not jargon. Before the story, there is a tone. Contact with a sight, a sound, a thought, a memory. Then a feeling tone flashes up. Pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. It's fast and early. It's the spark, not the fire. The story, the craving, the push comes later. If you want leverage, catch the tone first. Try one example right now. Scan the neck ache. Ask, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral? It's unpleasant. Name that, nothing more. Watch if it flips to neutral for a breath, then back. With the show, track the shift from sweet to stale. Note when relief curdles into agitation. Label the tone and leave the commentary on the bench. The name isn't a charm, it's a tag on the right bin. This is not suppression. You are not shoving anything down. You are tagging the signal at the stage where it's clean. You mark unpleasant before you start a chapter titled, Why This Always Happens to Me. You mark pleasant before you spin a plan to keep it. You mark neutral before boredom drives you to poke the moment with a stick. Notice the timing. Tone first, then the mind tries to sell you action. The move is tiny. Name the tone, let the thought float. Do nothing for a breath or two. It's like watching a kettle just as the bubbles start, not after the lid rattles. Early, light, clear. You don't have to be a monk to get this. You need 5 honest breaths and a bit of patience. Let's widen the vignettes. Plain pain again. You lie still. The lower back hums. You want to shift. First label, unpleasant. Then, if you shift, shift. But notice the tone before and after. Does the pitch drop? Does it move sideways to a different spot? Keep reading the meter without adding plot. This makes you the tech, not the client. The fade again. You sip water. It's nice. 2 sips later, it's nothing. You reach for flavor. That restlessness after the nice thing is the fade, not a failure. Mark pleasant while it's pleasant. Mark the moment it becomes neutral or even unpleasant. The tone changes fast. Catching the flip builds sensitivity without drama. Restless becoming again. You lie there and a plan springs up, neat and bold. Then another plan edits it. Then a self-portrait forms around the plans. The new you, the fixed you, the next you. Label the baseline as neutral or unpleasant. Then label the mind as busy. No judgment, short words. You are mapping how the factory runs. That alone slows the belt. There's a nice parallel here from lab work on naming feelings. Call it effect labeling if you want. The gist is simple. Put a clear tag on what's up, and the body tends to settle a notch. You give the system a compact, so it doesn't blow it into a saga. You're not explaining, you're naming. 1 word beats 100. Practice looks like this in bed. 1 pass of breath. Find the feeling tone. Pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. Don't polish it. Don't dig for a reason. If a thought barges in, treat it as more contact. New tone, new tag. Let that draw the line. Thoughts can chatter. You hold the clipboard. Tagging doesn't make the ache vanish. And it doesn't freeze the fade. What it does is pry your fingers off the throttle. The grip loosens because you moved from fuse to signal. It's a small distance, but at night small is huge. Space shows up between the spark and the hand that reaches for the phone. If you want an analogy, think of a smoke alarm. The alarm blares. You don't argue with the noise. You check for smoke first. That's the tone. Once you confirm the toast is just a little burnt, you wave a towel, not call the fire crew. Less theatre, less panic, less heat. Keep the language plain in your mind. Pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. Repeat. It trains the tongue to stop adding weight. Over time, the chain starts to show itself in order. Contact, tone, then the next link. You'll hear it line up like train cars at a slow station. Naming the flavour is the mini payoff. The shoulders drop a notch. The jaw unhooks. The loop loses 1 tooth of grip. You haven't solved the night. You've cleared space to stop feeding it. And that sets you up for the next move. Good. Now, catch the next move. Craving sneaks in right after the tone. Cravings 3 masks. The mind sells 3 contracts at 2 a.m. More, different, or none. Which one do you sign? Each sounds kind. Each sounds smart. Each tightens the knot by one more turn. So, let's map Tanha. 3 drives. Craving for pleasure, craving for becoming, craving for non-existence. They aren't casual wants. They carry that must tone, as if your well-being is on the line. The pitch is smooth. You'll feel better if you get this, if you become that, if you erase the whole thing. Clean pitch, same trap. Here is the tension. Comfort sounds right. Identity sounds right. Escape sounds right. But each move adds friction. You chase a small fix and wake the bigger loop. It's like rubbing a stain and grinding it deeper into the cloth. The spots look better for a second, then they set. In bed, the scripts play out like this. Pleasure says, one more scroll, one more video, one more snack, and then peace. Becoming says, tomorrow I'll reinvent. I'll build a new plan, a new me, and this will stop. Non-existence says, make it all stop, mute the thoughts, smother the senses, knock the lights out by force. 3 contracts, 3 tones, 1 restless night. Here's the research-backed part in simple terms. After the feeling tone flashes pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, craving strides in and proposes an action. It is procedural, not personal. A flowchart, not a confession. Pleasant tone? Repeat, increase, hold. Unpleasant, push away, block, distract. Neutral, stir the pot, find spice, poke the still water. You don't choose the proposal. You choose whether to fund it. Think of it like a pop-up offering a free trial you don't need. You click to dismiss, and 2 new windows bloom. You browse a minute, you get 5 ads. Craving is that pop-up. It looks like help. It breeds more pop-ups. Pleasure craving is the narrow, friendly one. It does not shout. It suggests. It turns the thumb into a metronome. One more hit of novelty. One more hit of sugar. One more patch of warmth. It's not evil. It's fragile. It wilts fast, so it begs for top-ups. You pay with your attention, then with your time. Becoming craving is taller. It wears a suit. It tells you to fix your story. It wants a new brand, a plan, a better you, an award you hand to yourself at 3 a.m. It takes a neutral moment and builds a scaffolding of next steps. The goalpost moves as you approach. You don't sleep because the game never ends. Non-existence craving whispers. It says the most merciful thing is to shut it down. Check out. Numb it. Knock it flat. It claims wisdom. It looks like control. But it often leans on force-heavy content. Heavy food. Heavy drink. Heavy denial. You don't wake rested. You wake flattened, with the loop waiting at the door. Craving never works alone. It needs muscle, so it hires clinging. That's where the mind drafts policy and signs it in your name. A small nudge becomes a rule. A pull becomes a view. A twitch becomes identity. Sensual clinging says, I deserve this treat, I need it. View clinging says, I'm the kind of person who is always like this. That's my truth. Rule and ritual clinging says, the routine must be exact or else. Self-theory clinging says, I am my anxiety, I am my plans, I am my numbness. Craving proposes, clinging enforces. Keep it procedural. Tone, then craving, then clinging. Like a short assembly line. Your job at night isn't to burn the factory down. It's to spot the conveyor and stop loading it. When you don't fund the step, the belt slows. Let's ground it. Pleasure loop first. You feel a flicker of nice from the cool side of the pillow. Pleasant tone. Craving swings in. More of that. Find more cool. Your hand flips the pillow again. Then again. Relief thins. Agitation rises. Label pleasant. Then wanting. 5 breaths. Do nothing. See if the tone shifts on its own. Many times, it does. Becoming loop next. A thought lands. New morning routine. Pleasant for a second, then hot and tight. Craving pictures a new self. Tomorrow you wake early, run, write, fix all calls, fix you. It feels noble, then noisy. Label busy, then fixing. 5 breaths. Plans can live on paper tomorrow. Let the mind throw its confetti. You don't have to sweep it now. Non-existence loop last. A wave of dread crawls up. Unpleasant. Craving says, make it all stop now. Smash the feed. Pull the covers over the head of your life. Label unpleasant, then numbing. 5 breaths. Stay with the raw tone, not the story. You're not a hostage. You're with a wave. Waves pass. Craving is quick. It arrives in milliseconds, below speech. But you can still catch the residue. You can spot the action urge. That's enough. Tiny gap. In that gap, make a move so small it feels silly. Name it. Wanting. Fixing. Numbing. Short words. Spare vowels. Then do nothing for 5 breaths. Not a hold your breath stunt. Natural breath. 5 gentle rounds. Your refusal is not a fight. It's a non-click. The pop-up fades if you stop feeding it clicks. 1 pass, 2 passes. The windows stop stacking. This is not theory. It's a small, repeatable act. Notice how craving pitches identity. I am the sort who needs noise to sleep. I am the one who always breaks plans. I am beyond tired. Each claim tightens the script. If you can see craving as a script, you can refuse the role. Swap the lines. There is wanting. There is fixing. There is numbing. The cast stays. The play ends. A last bedtime run-through. The tone pops up. Pleasant. Craving says, more. You label. Wanting. 5 breaths. The tone shifts to neutral. Craving pivots to fixing. You label. 5 breaths. Then a dull wave, and craving goes to numbing. You label. 5 breaths. The body drops 1 gear. Thoughts soften from bold to grey. That's your mini payoff. A quiet notch down. The room feels wider by an inch or 2. Not a victory march. A small space. In that space, you rest even if sleep takes its time. What happens if you don't click? We study clinging next. Clinging. The comment section in your head. Craving whispers. Clinging drafts a manifesto. One soft urge turns into a policy memo. Stamped, filed, and enforced in the dark. You don't just want a small comfort. You pass a law about it. And once the law is on the books, the night follows it. So, 4 kinds show up on cue. Sensuality clinging. Holding tight to taste, touch, sound. View clinging. Taking a stance as gospel. Rules and rituals clinging. Worshipping methods over results. Self-theories clinging. Pinning everything to a fixed me. Taste, truth, discipline, identity. Each sounds noble. Each turns into glue the second you lean hard. Here's the tension. The labels feel safe. They promise order. But once glued, you can't move. The palate gets small. The mind stops breathing. And you end up guarding a wall you built yourself. Night makes this clear. You think, I deserve a treat. That's sensuality clinging. The body is tired. The mouth wants sweet. And the mind writes a decree. Sugar now equals peace. It works for a minute, then adds buzz. Now the law demands a second reading. And a third. Next line. I'm always like this. That's view clinging, hiding as biography. You turn a moment into a theory. Now the theory sits on your chest. It has weight. It survives even when the facts shift, because identity signed it. Then, the routine must be perfect. That's rules and rituals clinging. You build a tight maze of steps to earn sleep. Miss 1 step, the maze resets. The steps were tools. Now they're shackles. You spend more time checking the rule book than resting. And the loud one, I am my anxiety. Self-theory clinging. The feeling gets the name tag, then the lease, then the deed. Every pulse of worry reports to you, which makes it feel permanent. But the worry still rises and falls. The name doesn't change its half-life. It only changes the weight. Research-backed or not, you can test this tonight. Watch how a small urge becomes identity and policy. A hint of want turns into, people like me need this. A passing doubt becomes, my truth is I fail at sleep. Once written in that tone, the wheel of becoming spins faster. Thoughts draft roles. Roles draft scenes. Scenes draft sequels. The loop runs payroll on your nerves. It's like upgrading a pop-up to a pinned tab. A little window asks for attention, and you turn it into a permanent feature at the top of your browser. Now it eats space even when you aren't looking. Every new tab has to squeeze around it. The screen feels smaller, not because the page got worse, but because you gave the pop-up tenure. Let's dig one layer deeper. Sensuality clinging doesn't just want pleasant contact. It wants a buffer against unpleasant tone and neutral tone. It treats sweetness as shield and boredom as threat. When the taste fades, clinging calls it a breach and orders more. You get the odd math of less relief and more chasing. Few clinging loves strong words. Always, never, I am. They feel clear, but they flatten nuance. So when a calm patch shows up, the view edits it out. The script needs you to be always like this, so it keeps the engine hot. The facts leave the scene. The view stays. Rules and rituals clinging need certitude. If the breath count is 5, not 6, the mind declares a loss. A method that was meant to help now sits on a throne. You obey the throne and miss the signal that your body is already softening on the 4th breath. Self-theory's clinging is the heavy one. It ties every sensation to an owner. My headache, my dread, my restless mind. Ownership fast-tracks blame and pride and fear. It makes the system stiff. It makes change feel like treason. There's a simple cut-through. Swap the grammar. Instead of I think, use there is a thought. Instead of I am anxious, use there is anxiety. Short words, big shift. You move the feeling from the driver's seat to the dashboard. It's still here. It still matters. It just doesn't own the car. Try it with the night examples. The treat voice rises. Say, there is a thought of sweetness. There is a pull in the mouth. There is warmth in the chest. Keep it basic. 3 lines, no story. Watch how the urge loses rank when it doesn't wear your name. When the identity script shows up, I'm always like this, say. There is a belief. There is a memory. There is tension. You can even add, there is doubt. The system hears that as permission to update, not a crisis to defend. When the ritual cop knocks, soften the badge. There is a plan. There is checking. There is fear of missing a step. Then measure what helps right now. If counting to 3 steadies the breath, do 3. If the jaw softens with 1 exhale, do 1. The rule serves you. If it doesn't, it goes back on the shelf. When the self-theory leans in, I am my anxiety, go slow. There is tightness, there is heat. There is a story that says, these are me. Let the sensations be raw data for 10 breaths. See if the labels shift. Often they do. Tightness becomes flutter, heat becomes warmth. The story lags behind the change. That lag is your opening. This isn't denial. You're not sidestepping responsibility. You're mapping process. Identity is a live feed, not an anchor. Thoughts arise, feelings tilt, plans draft, awareness knows. If identity is process, not anchor, we can loosen it. You don't need to break the chain. You let one link rest. Here's a small drill. When a sticky line lands, locate it in the body. Where does I deserve sit? Where does I'm always sit? Note, spot, tone, and urge. Then switch grammar. There is pressure. There is unpleasant. There is wanting. Wait 5 breaths. Check again. Often the volume drops half a notch without any heroics. Clinging organizes the night into camps. Me versus not me. Right method versus wrong method. Good self versus bad self. This sharp split keeps the nervous system on alert. When you depersonalize by inches, The system hears, safe enough. Heart rate steps down, muscles release. The mind lets go of its clipboard. Mini payoff. Shift grammar, shift grip. The comment section turns into a quiet notes app. You still get posts, but they don't stick to your face. You can read them, then swipe them away. Not a grand cure. A humane downgrade. Let the unwinding be plain. Low voice, short labels, no courtroom. If a thought returns, it returns. There is a thought. If the urge argues, there is arguing. You don't need a counter-argument. You need space. Now we test the core claim. Not self as a calm, practical lens. Not self. The name tag that peels off. What if you is a live feed, not a statue? Not a carved idol with a fixed face, but a channel that updates frame by frame. A moving stack of inputs and habits that sync just long enough to pass for a person. Welcome to the quiet shock that helps at 2 a.m. Identity as process, not property. So, let's lay out the stack. 5 aggregates. Form, feeling, perception, formations, consciousness. Assembled, not owned. Form is the body, the hardware. Feeling is the quick tilt, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. Perception is the labeling system that says tight, warm, faint glow. Formations are the mental moves, plans, urges, choices. Consciousness is the knowing of all this, like the screen that shows the scene. When they come together, you call it me. When they drift, you still have experience, but the center loosens. The reflex fights back. But this is me. This pulse, this thought, this voice in my head. The data says, this is happening. Pulse happens. Thought happens. Voice happens. The gap is small but key. Ownership loads fear onto every shift. Observation lets shifts be what they are, shifts. Now, bedside scan. Keep it simple. Weight of the blanket on your shins. That's form. You don't own it. You feel pressure and warmth. Tone in the chest. That's feeling. Pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, no commentary. The label tight or soft. That's perception, assigning a tag. The planning loop that starts drafting tomorrow's grand fix. That's formations doing their job, building paths. And the quiet awareness that knows all of this at once. That's consciousness, the light on the stage, not the actors. Here's the helpful bit. Identification amplifies fear. Observation loosens it. When the ache is my ache, the body tenses twice, once for the ache, once for the claim. When the ache is pressure known here, the second tension doesn't stack. Less tension means less fuel. Less fuel means a cooler night. Think of it like weather over a field. When you are the storm, every gust feels like a crisis, and you brace for impact. When you watch weather move over a field, clouds roll, rain taps, wind shifts, and the grass keeps swaying. Same events, different frame, one binds, one breathes. Let's give each aggregate a clean pass with the known, not owned lens. Form. There is weight at the shoulder. There is cool air on the cheek. There is a pulse in the wrist. Known, not owned. Feeling. There is unpleasant in the jaw. There is neutral in the toes. There is pleasant in the warm spot by the ribs. Known, not owned. Perception. There is the tag tight. There is the tag loose. There is the tag fuzzy. Known, not owned. Formations. There is planning. There is resisting. There is a nudge to fix. Known, not owned. Consciousness. There is knowing of body, tone, labels, and urges. Known, not owned. Notice what this does in practice. Ownership says, I am tight, so I must solve tightness now. Observation says, there is tight, and it passes through awareness like a line on a screen. The first path piles urgency. The second path allows timing to do some work for you. Many sensations shift on their own when you stop pinning them to a self that must defend or improve. Your reflex will argue. It will say this is cold, detached, robotic. Test it. When you call a thought mine, watch the body. Jaw hooks, breath climbs, shoulders rise. When you say, there is a thought, the body often drops a notch. Not because you stopped caring, but because you stopped carrying. Run a slow minute. Form first. There is the bed under the hips. There is a mild ache at the knee. There is the fan's air on the lips. Feeling next. There is neutral in the knee for 1 breath, then unpleasant for 2, then neutral again. Perception next. There is the tag, ache. Then it changes to buzz, then quiet. Formations next. There is wanting to move. There is a plan to shift. There is a rule trying to jump in. Consciousness holds the light the whole time. Now, slip in the phrase, known, not owned, short, soft. You're not pushing anything away. You're putting each piece down where it belongs on the workbench. Pieces play nicer when they're not all crammed into the slot labelled me. That slot is small. It overheats. Form often grabs the wheel at night. The body yells. You can meet it with neat steps. There is pressure. Known. Adjust the pillow if needed. Then recheck tone. There is less pressure. Known. No story about my broken body. Just cues, then responses. Clean loop. Feeling is slippery. It tells you mood is doom. Label first. Unpleasant. Neutral. Pleasant. A label is not a verdict. It's a tag on a file, so you can find it later if needed. The label often changes before you do anything. You see that, and trust grows. Less forcing, more seeing. Perception loves to stamp. Tight, bad, always. Teach it new stamps. Tight, soft, fading. When perception has more colors, it stops painting the whole wall black. Formations is where the churn hides. Planning, judging, rehearsing. Watch it as a factory. It makes proposals. You fund or don't. Known, not owned, turns the budget down. 5 breaths without a spend, and the meeting ends itself. Consciousness sounds fancy. It's simple. It's the lit room where all this shows. You don't have to aim at it. You notice it by how it includes. When the view widens, panic shrinks. The same noise in a bigger room is easier to bear. Less ownership equals less panic. You'll feel it as small mechanical shifts, jaw unhooks, breath drops, chest loosens. The mind still notes pain, but it doesn't brace for trial. You haven't erased experience. You've stopped claiming it as a personal offense. Here's a tiny drill to test the claim. When a wave of dread rises, don't fight content. Go by aggregates. Form, there is heat in the chest. Feeling, unpleasant. Perception, tight. Formations, urge to scroll, urge to hide. Consciousness, knowing all of that. Now, add the mantra, known, not owned. 3 rounds of breath. Check again. Often the heat turns to tingle. The label shifts to roomy. The urge drops a size. The mini payoff is quiet and real. Experience keeps flowing. The grip eases. Clarity stays. You still sense the room, the thoughts, the body. But the me that must fix or flee goes off duty. This is not a trick. It's a fit. Process treated as process fits the night better than persona on patrol. With the self less sticky, blame has fewer places to land. You can study the web of causes without turning the inquiry into a verdict. Now we can look at how the links feed each other, gently, at 2 a.m. And change the loop by softening one strand. Interdependence at 2 a.m. The problem feels personal. The causes are a network. Your name sits on the insomnia, but the wiring behind it looks like shared roads and old habits. Welcome to the web, not fate, not a curse. Just parts leaning on parts until the whole thing hums. So, dependent origination gets a gentle frame tonight. Think conditions, not destiny. Think a teaching tool, not a cosmic blueprint. The classic list has many links, but at 2 a.m., we don't need a lecture. We need a map we can hold. The model says this: when X leans on Y, Z wakes up. Pull one point, and the lines shift. That's enough. Now, the mind wants a villain. One bad habit, one broken rule, one wrong snack. The model says there isn't a single culprit. There is a web that tightens when you tug in the usual way. That's annoying. It's also freeing. If the trouble is networked, the help is networked too. Small moves count. Soft moves count. Let's trace a chain you know in your bones. Fatigue first. It loads the system. With low fuel, the brain flags threat faster, even when nothing is wrong. Heightened reactivity shows up. Sounds feel sharp. Thoughts run hot. Next link, harsh thoughts. They don't whisper, they judge. You buy the tone, and the body listens. Muscles tighten around the jaw, neck, belly. That tightness signals alert. Alert fights sleep. More wakefulness settles in. The loop completes and feeds back to fatigue. Round 2 begins. That readout can sound clinical, but it's simple in practice. The tone of your inner speech is a switch. The posture you hold is a switch. The breath rate you run is a switch. The glow from the screen is a switch. Small shifts in any one of those can alter the loop. Not magic. Mechanics. Start with breath. Longer, steady exhales dial in the calmer side of the nervous system. It's not a trick. It is a physical cue, like dimming a light. Try a count that feels easy. 4 out, 3 in, or 5 out, 4 in. No strain. You're telling the body that the fire drill ended. Posture next. When you lie like a board, muscles scream safety protocol. Loosen the jaw first. Let the tongue rest on the floor of the mouth. Unpin the shoulders. Let them drop, then drop again. If the low back tugs, slide a small pillow under the knees. You are not aiming for perfect. You are easing one strand. Light matters. Your eyes talk to your clock, even with lids closed. Cut the bright, cool light. If you can, switch to warm, low light for the last stretch of the night. Better yet, turn the screen face down. If it must stay on, at least dim and shift it down. Less blue, less alert. Now the voice in your head, tone, not content, does the damage. Swap. Why am I like this? For this is what wakefulness feels like right now. Swap. Fix it. For soften one thing. Your words are levers. Gentle words move heavy loads when they land early in the loop. Think of this web like a knot in a cord. Yank the whole mess and the knot fights back. Take one strand, work it a little, and the knot eases. You didn't win a debate. You changed tension. It's plain, almost boring. It also works better than force. Let's make the technique explicit. Identify one condition to soften tonight, not 5. 1. Make it specific and kind. For 2 minutes, I'll lengthen the exhale. Or, I'll place a warm hand on my chest and count to 6. Or, I'll set the phone out of reach and keep the room dark. Or, I'll swap harsh lines for a single phrase. Good enough. Pick one. Set a tiny span of time. Do it gently. Run it through the chain. You feel fatigue and the edge that follows. Instead of chasing the next thought, you lengthen the exhale. That single move softens reactivity. With a softer edge, harsh thoughts arrive with less bite. Fewer spikes, less muscle clamp. Less clamp, more ease. More ease, more chance for sleep to find you. If not sleep, then rest. Rest heals the loop by a notch. Not bold, useful. Another chain pass with posture. You notice your neck holds the night like a shield. You loosen the jaw. You roll the shoulders once. You add a small support under the knees. You don't preach calm to yourself. You give it a cue. The body hears and de-escalates. The brain follows the drop. Now the thoughts don't have a siren behind them. They're just lines. One more pass with light. The screen pings. You don't check it. You turn it face down. Less light, less alert. With less alert, breath slows without a fight. Muscles mirror the pace. You didn't conquer anything. You helped the loop tilt toward quiet. Your inner speech can be set to neutral. Pick a phrase that doesn't spark debate. Known, not owned works, but you can go simpler. Soften here. Let it be. This breath. When the line runs in a steady, low tone, the chain loses heat. You train the room inside your head to stop acting like a courtroom. This is where agency grows. Not from big vows, but from small leverage. You don't need to solve your life at 2 a.m. You need to soften one strand, then let the change ripple. It is shocking how often a small nudge cascades. Lower breath rate shifts heart rate. That shift changes how thoughts feel. Thoughts without a drum line don't recruit muscle. Muscle not on guard leaves the door open to sleep. You can test it like a home lab. 2 minutes on one change. Note the before and after. Did the jaw drop one notch? Did the breath return to the belly? Did the room feel a shade wider? If yes, you changed the loop. If no, you learned where it holds. Try a different strand. No rush, no judgment, just clean reads. Less blame, more agency. That's the mini payoff. You stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" and start asking, "Which strand can I ease now?" The answer is usually small and close. You can reach it without standing up. You can reach it in the space between two slow breaths. And when one strand gives, others follow. Not always fast, not always loud. But the knot loosens, enough to rest, enough to breathe, enough to feel human again without a speech. With the map open, we practice the core tool, mindfulness. The 4 foundations, bedside edition. 4 windows, same room. Each view calms a different noise. You don't need new gear. You need 4 simple angles on the night and the mind that spins inside it. So, the setup is clean. Body, feelings, mind, phenomena. You apply them in bed, eyes heavy, lights low. No rituals to pass, no perfect form. Just a few quiet passes that meet the hour as it is. Now, the sticking point. Your attention drifts and you call it failure. It isn't. Drifting is the practice field. The comeback builds the muscle. You notice the slip, you note it, you return. That loop is the work. The loop is enough. Body first. Count breaths to 5. Slow, clear, light. 1 in, 1 out, 1. Do that up to 5, then reset to 1. Miss a count? Fine. Start over. Keep the jaw soft and the tongue easy. Let the shoulders fall. Lengthen the exhale a touch. That small tweak nudges the body into a lower gear. No strain, no push. Think dimmer switch, not power button. Feelings next, the quick tilt. Every contact carries a tone. Pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. Tag it where it lands. Pleasant is not a trap. Unpleasant is not a crime. Neutral is not a void. It's a color swatch. You clock the hue before your mind paints a mural. If it flips, tag the flip. If it doesn't, don't force it. You're reading the meter, not writing the score. Mind after that. Note the state. Busy, dull, clear. Short words, low voice. Busy means lots of lines. Dull means fog. Clear means open and steady. None of these is a problem. They are weather. You're checking the sky, not arguing with clouds. Phenomena last the events that run the loop. See craving and clinging as items, not laws. Wanting pops up. Planning pops up. A rule pops up. An I am pops up. Name the event and leave it on the tray. It can stay or go. You don't wrestle it. You don't salute it. Here's the research-backed insight stated plain. Non-judgmental awareness lowers arousal and cuts rumination short. When you stop grading each moment, the nervous system reads safe enough. Heart rate eases. Thought speed drops. The room gets quieter without force. You didn't fix content. You changed the tone. Run 1 full cycle as a live demo. Breath 1 to 5. The tone shows as neutral. The mind flags restless. Craving jumps as fixing. You tag each. Then you return to 1. No penalty. No speech. The loop itself starts to teach your body that nothing bad happens when you don't obey the urge. Keep a soft mantra in the background. Known, not owned. Say it once per pass. It keeps the pieces on the table and out of your name. You still feel them. You stop wearing them. Let's go deeper on each window with small drills. Body again. Count to 5 3 times. If you lose the line at 3, start again at 1. Check the jaw between sets. Check the shoulders. Check the belly. Each check is one notch of release. The point is not a high score. The point is the tone change that follows each little drop. Feelings drill. On the next inhale, locate one spot with a clear tone. The back of the neck, the chest, the palms. Label it. Pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. No story. On the exhale, see if it shifts. If it does, note the new tag. If it doesn't, keep the old tag without a sigh. This builds timing and reduces the urge to push. Mind drill, call the state. Busy, dull, clear. If busy, widen the view to include sound and contact. If dull, brighten the breath just a hair or open the eyes a crack. If clear, stay simple and don't grab for more. You let clarity be boring. That's how it lasts. Phenomena drill. As soon as an urge appears, scroll, plan, shut down, label it as wanting, fixing, or numbing. Add one more line if needed. There is clinging to views. There is clinging to routine. There is clinging to self. Short, gentle, factual. Then return to the breath count. Think of the 4 windows like dials on an old radio. You don't smash the box. You tune. You move one dial a hair and the static drops under the voice. The song was always there. You just lowered the noise enough to hear it. Now, repetition is your edge. Each pass lays a track. The brain loves grooves. You run the cycle enough times, and calm stops being rare. It becomes the default bias. Not every night, not every minute, but more than before. That is real. Here's a longer pass you can try right now. 2 minutes total. First 30 seconds, body, count to 5, reset, count to 5. Second 30, feelings. Note 3 tones in a row, 1 per breath, no story. Third 30, mind. Call the state each breath, and if busy, widen. If dull, brighten. If clear, stay. Last 30, phenomena. Catch one craving, one clinging, name each, and do nothing for 2 breaths after. Thread the mantra once each segment. Known, not owned. Notice what shifts at the end of 2 minutes. Often the breath sits lower. The chest has more room. The forehead is less tight. The talk in the head keeps going, but the volume sits under the level where you jump. You've moved from push to allow. That is the mini payoff. If the mind bolts, you don't scold it. You mark the bolt as busy, tag the tone, and go back to 1. You might repeat this 10 times. That repetition is not failure. It is the reps that build the calm reflex. You are training return, not forever hold. Let's run one more lived example. Breath count hits 4 and breaks. Tone reads neutral with a pinch of unpleasant in the neck. Mind says restless. Craving pitches fixing. New sleep plan for tomorrow. You tag each word, then the mantra. Known, not owned. Back to breath 1. The plan can wait for daylight and a pen. Small note on comfort. If the body asks for a shift, you shift. You're not frozen. Move slow, then recheck the tone. Pleasant for 1 breath, neutral for 2. Good. Back to the count. As you keep looping, attention steadies. Not by force, but by habit. The room quiets because you stopped adding noise. You didn't shut thoughts down. You stopped hiring them to run the night. Calm grows from the edges inward. And when attention steadies, concentration deepens. Concentration. Gentle jhana. No pressure. Ethics as sleep hygiene for the heart. You don't need fireworks. You need a dimmer switch. Concentration at night is a soft hand on the volume knob, not a trophy hunt. You aim for steady attention that lowers the noise floor so the mind stops leaping at every spark. So, here's the setup. You rest attention on one simple anchor breath at the nostrils or the chest. You add small cues the body understands. Half smile. Soften the jaw. Let the tongue rest. Lengthen the exhale just a bit. You're not forcing trance. You're letting the system idle lower. Chasing bliss agitates. Allowing softness settles. If the breath feels tight, widen the field to include the whole torso. If the mind crowds the anchor, let the anchor be larger, a sense of the whole body breathing, the bed holding you up, the faint sound in the room. Then slide back to the breath, easy. Give it a minute of slow work. Count 4 cycles. Inhale, exhale 1, up to 4. Then drop the count and rest with the bare feel of air. If thoughts pass, they pass like low cars on a distant road. You see them. You don't run after the tail lights. Longer exhalations send a clear cue to the calmer side of the nervous system. It's physiology, not belief. Try a pattern that doesn't strain. 4 out, 3 in. Or 5 out, 4 in. If the chest tightens, shave a count. Comfort is the compass. Comfort tells the body it can stand down. Now, placement matters. Nostrils are clean and light. Chest is broader and steady. Pick the one that feels less fussy tonight. If the anchor goes faint, don't panic. That is often the doorway into ease. Let the breath breathe you for a few rounds. You can pick up the thread when it thickens again. Add a little rhythm to keep it humane. On each out-breath, soften one spot: jaw, brow, throat, belly. Cycle those 4, 1 per breath. The body learns the pattern and starts to pre-release as you near each spot. Like lowering the gain on a radio until static drops below speech, you bring the hum down without killing the song. If sleep arrives, let it. If it doesn't, rest counts. Rest is not a consolation prize. It is repair. Many people waste the window by judging it. You don't. You let the body idle in low gear and call that a win for the night. As calm sets in, craving becomes easier to see. It appears as a small ripple near the anchor. Wanting tugs, fixing plots, numbing leans. You label it once, lightly, then return to the breath. The label stops the magnet from grabbing the whole hand. Sometimes a pleasant glow shows up, warmth in the face, ease in the chest, a simple joy in breathing. Don't clutch it. Let it bathe the scene. If it fades, it fades. If it stays, it stays. These are early jhana flavors: calm, steadiness, a quiet confidence. They deepen when you don't make them a project. If dullness creeps in, brighten a hair. Sit the spine a bit taller in bed. Let the in-breath be crisp at the start of the nostrils. If agitation creeps in, widen. Include more body. Include the rumble of the room. Balance is the middle way, even here a tune between too tight and too loose. Mini payoff. Subtle ease arises. Thoughts pass like those low cars far off. You rest more than you work. The mind stops chasing sparks and starts noticing space. With calm in play, ethics quietly supports the night. A clear conscience is underrated melatonin. You know this in your bones. When you haven't lied, dodged, or harmed, there are fewer audits at 2 a.m. The file cabinet in your head doesn't fling drawers open. The room stays neat. So, the frame is simple. Right speech, right action, right livelihood. Big words that boil down to do less harm, and the mind has fewer tabs to keep alive later. Add the 5 precepts in their plain sense: don't harm, don't steal, keep sex clean, watch speech, and avoid dulling your head, and you lighten the cognitive load your future self has to carry. Rule keeping sounds stiff. It reads like homework. But the point isn't scorekeeping. It's fewer late-night reviews. Every small breach adds noise replays, justifications, what if they find out. Fewer breaches, fewer replays. The benefit lands in bed. Keep it on the ground. Honesty today means you don't rehearse a cover story tonight. Generosity tonight, a small gift. A kind check-in gives the body a warm echo later. Restraint on doom scrolling is not a moral badge. It's less hot input before sleep. These small acts clean up the later mind without any sermon. There's a clear link people test all the time. Pro-social behavior lifts mood and trims the edges off rumination. Help a bit, lie less, take what's yours and no more, and the loop at night has fewer hooks. You will still think. You will think with less heat. Technique time, kept short. Metta in bed. 3 lines. May I be safe. May I be at ease. May I sleep. Say them like you'd talk to a friend who needed a blanket, then widen to one other person. May you be safe. May you be at ease. May you sleep. Keep the tone low and steady. If faces come to mind, fine. If not, keep it general. The heart hears the tone. You can tuck metta into breathwork. On the exhale, one phrase. On the next exhale, the next phrase. On the third phrase. Then repeat for the other person. The words are light, like a hand on the back. They cue warmth without drama. Think of ethics like clearing your desk before bed. Papers stacked, pens capped, no sticky cups. Less clutter, less grasping. Your mind follows the desk. It doesn't snag on half-finished mess. It knows where to rest. This isn't about sainthood. It's about sleep. A day with cleaner lines sets up a night with fewer loops. You speak straight. You act clean. You make your money in a way that doesn't gnaw at you. And later your brain doesn't stage a court case. It sighs and powers down. Give it a tiny trial. Before bed, recall one honest act, one kind act, one restraint, not glory, small and true. Feel the chest answer. Warmth flows, even a little. Edges round off. That is your mini payoff. The heart settles, and thoughts soften their voice. So what is nirvana here and now? Not a glow and absence. A steady ease where the itch stops asking for fuel. Nirvana, the flame that stops needing fuel. Not the end of experience, the end of the itch. That's the hook. Not a vanish act. A quieting. You still hear, feel, think. But the grip that keeps poking the sore spot, it lets go. So, welcome to nirvana stripped of smoke. Think, extinguishing craving. Not life, not senses. The flame doesn't die because the world ends. It dies because you stop feeding it. Experience continues. Reactivity drops. You can have a thought without being dragged. You can feel a pulse without a plan to fix or flee. It's clean air after the kitchen stops burning toast. People fear nothingness. Fair. The word sounds like a trap door. But the teaching points to unburdened awareness. Not a blank. A room with the junk hauled out. The chair stays. The light stays. The draft by the window stays. The noise that said do something now or else loses its job. You meet the moment without a sales pitch. Let's test it with 3 cases. Pleasant without grasping, unpleasant without resistance, neutral with interest. Each one shows the itch dropping out while the senses keep working. That's the move. Small, repeatable, human. First case, pleasant without grasping. You feel a warm patch in the chest. It's nice. The old habit races in with a net. Keep it, grow it, post it. Grasping turns sweetness into work. You let that part go. You stay with the warmth as warmth. No custody battle. It rises and settles like steam off a bowl. Ease remains. Your hand stays open. Second case, unpleasant without resistance. A spike in the gut, sharp. The reflex wants to brace, name an enemy, or drown it. That is fuel. You meet the raw unpleasant as sensation pressure, heat, twist mapped the way a tech reads a gauge. You don't add insult. You don't tell a doom story. Pain can be pain without the lash. The body takes the hint and stops doubling the signal. Third case, neutral with interest. The desert of the night. No thrill, no crash, just plain. Habit says poke it, spice it, make it a project. That is fuel too. Instead, you lean in with quiet curiosity. What's here? Breath is soft. Sheets are cool. A faint sound fades. Neutral stops being a void and turns into a resting slope. You coast without needing tricks. Here's the research-backed insight stated plain. Acceptance-based approaches lower arousal more reliably than control strategies. When you stop gripping and stop smothering, the system reads safe enough. Heart rate and thought speed both ease. You're not quitting. You're letting the body do the part it does better than the courtroom in your head. Think of craving like a fan left on after the room cools. It kept you from sweating once. Now it just hums. You notice. You click it off. The air stays. The room is the room. Silence spreads by subtraction. Not drama, not force, just less added spin. Make it a technique you can run half asleep. When a wave rises, ask one line. Is fuel being added? Check for the 3 usual fuels: grasping, resisting, numbing. If yes, stop adding. Don't rip wires out. Don't preach at yourself. Remove the top up. Keep breath steady. Let the wave crest and pass. Then repeat the question when the next ripple shows. You can drill this in tiny loops. Pleasant. Warm palm on the chest. Clock the urge to hold it. Label, adding fuel. Soften the hand a shade. Let warmth come and go. Unpleasant. A jab in the neck. Clock the clench. Label, adding fuel. Release the jaw and lengthen the exhale. Neutral, quiet boredom. Clock the reach for a screen. Label, adding fuel. Keep your gaze soft and note 3 small sounds. Each pass is a rep for non-participation. Why talk about brief tastes? Because they matter. The nervous system learns from small wins more than big lectures. 10 seconds of pleasant without clutching teaches the body that joy can be light. 10 seconds of unpleasant without pressing trains the reflex to stop doubling pain. 10 seconds of neutral with interest gives you a place to land when the mind wants noise. You're setting grooves. The wheel finds them later. Now the tension. You'll hear an inner critic say non-participation is laziness. It isn't. It is precision. You still act when needed. Move the leg. Drink water. Adjust the pillow. You just stop adding push where push adds heat. The middle way again. Not dead calm. Not white-knuckle control. Steady, kind, responsive. Run a live example to feel the gear shift. A thought flashes. Dire email tomorrow. Pleasant? No. Unpleasant. Is fuel being added? Yes, tight jaw, stories of fallout, a planned spiral. You stop fueling. One long exhale. Jaw drops. You name 2 concrete next steps for daylight on a note, or you don't, but either way you end the planning meeting. The body gets the memo. The wave breaks. You lie back in the quiet after. Another pass with pleasant. A gentle glow shows as breath turns smooth. Is fuel being added? Yes, grasping shows as a wish to freeze it. You stop the grasp. You let the glow be a visitor. It may fade. It may stay. You don't appoint it king. Peace that doesn't fear change lasts longer. One more with neutral. Boredom. The reach for the phone is halfway done. Is fuel being added? Yes, stirring the pot. You stop the stir. You widen hearing. Air vent. Night car. Your own breathing. Neutral turns textured. Rest lives in that texture. Mini payoff. Quiet spreads. Not from victory, from non-participation. You didn't win a fight. You didn't lose one either. You showed up, saw the fan was on, and clicked it off. The mind hums lower. The body follows. Sleep can come. If not, rest is real and enough. Even brief tastes are worth the effort. They train your lines to ease. They teach your hand to stop adding fuel. They make the next wave less sticky. That's the kind of memory you want at 2 a.m. A feel for ease that doesn't need a speech. Bring it home with a final bedside protocol. The night protocol, a 6-minute run. One loop you can remember half asleep. That's the point. 6 minutes, same order every time so your brain doesn't bargain. You hit play in your head and let the steps carry you. So, here's the sequence. Posture, breath, label, allow, soften, rest. 6 words, 6 minutes. The protocol expects wandering. It expects noise. Your job is not to hold a perfect line. It's to come back to the next step with a small, steady yes. Minute 1 is posture. Scan from crown to toes. Loosen the brow. Unhook the jaw. Let the tongue rest on the floor of the mouth. Drop the shoulders an inch, then another ½ inch. Slide the shoulder blades down as if tucking them into back pockets. If the low back nags, place a small pillow or rolled towel under the knees. If the neck pinches, nudge the pillow height until the throat feels free. You're not chasing ideal, you're removing obvious friction. End the minute with a check. Head, jaw, shoulders, chest, belly, hips, knees, ankles, toes. Quiet, simple, done. Minute 2 is breath with a longer exhale. Pick an easy count. 4 out, 3 in, or 5 out, 4 in. The out-breath leads. No strain, no big show. Think of it like easing the brake, not slamming it. Feel the ribs settle as air leaves. Let the in-breath arrive on its own. If the chest tries to grab control, widen to include belly and sides. Keep the jaw soft, the throat open. You're setting a cadence the body recognizes as safe enough. End the minute by letting the count fade for a few breaths while the length holds by habit. Minute 3 is label feeling tone. Each breath, ask the body one question: pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Start with whatever stands out: throat, chest, back of the neck, palms. Tag it once per breath, no story: pleasant, neutral, unpleasant. If the tag flips, mark the flip. If it stays the same, keep the same tag. You are reading early signals, not arguing with them. The mind will try to tell a tale. The label keeps it honest and short. Minute 4 is note mind state. 1 word per breath: busy, dull, clear. If busy, widen your field to include sound and contact bed under you, air on the face, a far-off hum. If dull, nudge the posture a notch taller and brighten the first sip of the in-breath at the nostrils. If clear, do nothing special. Don't reach for more. Let clear be boring and steady. Think weather report, not a forecast. You state what's here and move on. Minute 5 is watch craving and stop adding fuel. Craving shows as wanting, fixing, or numbing. One pops up, you label it: wanting, fixing, numbing. Then you don't act for 5 easy breaths. You don't scroll. You don't replan your life. You don't smother the scene. Just breathe and feel the urge ride out like a small wave. If it keeps pitching, label again and give it another 5. This is the hinge. You're cutting the fuel line without breaking the engine. Minute 6 is meta, simple phrases: low voice, may I be safe, may I be at ease, may I sleep. Say them on the out-breath, 1 per breath, then offer the same 3 lines to one other person. May you be safe, may you be at ease, may you sleep. No performance. Let the tone be the medicine. Warmth in, warmth out. End the minute with 1 soft line. Good enough. Short, structured routines reduce decision fatigue and make it easier to keep going when you're tired. That's what this is. 6 fixed moves means 0 debate about what comes next. Your brain stops opening side quests and follows the checklist. Less choice, less churn. If you're still awake at the end, repeat with even less effort. Let the count be looser, let the labels be lighter. If you're drowsy, let the protocol dissolve mid-step. Sleep can interrupt any time and call it a win. You don't finish the checklist finishes you. Think of this like a bedtime checklist for a small cockpit. Calm, repeatable, safe. Flip the same switches in the same order and the craft settles. You don't yank levers, you don't race the runway. You drop lights, lower gain, and let the hum fall under the level where it nags. Now, expect wandering. The mind will cut across lanes. Fine. You return to the current minute. Posture if you're on 1, breath if you're on 2, tone if you're on 3, mind if you're on 4, craving if you're on 5, meta if you're on 6. Start over if you lose track. Start in the middle if that's what you remember. The order helps. It isn't sacred. Practice turns the bed into a lab that lulls, not provokes. The steps build grooves. The grooves carry you when willpower is spent. Repetition teaches your body that the night doesn't need a fight. It needs a path. 6 minutes is the path. A few live pointers keep it smooth. Keep the jaw checked at each minute change. Keep the exhale a shade longer than the inhale, even when not counting. Keep labels to 1 word. Keep hands still, unless comfort asks for a shift. When you shift, shift slow. then return to the step you were on. Mini payoff. Agency returns. Shame fades. Curiosity stays. You're not a failure for being awake. You're a tech running a clean protocol. Each run gives you data and a small drop in noise. That's enough for tonight. Close the lab gently. Let the body keep breathing. Lights out on the commentary. Conclusion. Your 2 a.m. isn't a verdict. It's a readout. Conditions shift. Craving is optional. When you stop adding fuel, the graph smooths out and the room stops acting like a courtroom. That's the change you can feel tonight. Less heat, more space, same life. Try the 6-minute loop tonight. Posture, breath, label, allow, soften, rest. Run it once, then tell me how it went. Let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is for you. I read them. If this quiet helped, like the video and subscribe for more nights like this. We'll keep the lights low and the steps simple.